what do you do at your work? All that. No, that's not first date
Don't make
stuff.
an interview.
Keep it light and flirty.
Ask them what kind of bug they are. One of my friends went on a first date and she was like, what kind of pasta are you? And he gave a really good answer. He said he was bow tie pasta because he's a distinguished gentleman.
Okay.
That's so much better than what do you do for work?
Beyond the perfect we discover, through our flaws we complete each other. Better than perfect we stay, through every fault we find our way.
Welcome to the Better Than Perfect podcast, where every week we show you how two imperfect people helping each other become better equals one better than perfect relationship. And today it is Nicole's topic, but yeah, and it is Christmas time for us time travelers.
And poor John's not feeling good today, but he made it here, so hopefully you won't have to cough too many times.
No.
But yeah, so how should I phrase what we're going to be talking about? Okay, so I guess the topic this week would be like a guy and a girl's perspective on like a first date, or like things to do, how to have like good dating etiquette, kind of like a guy's perspective of like things you should do on a date, or like how you can make it go well, and then a woman's perspective on how the thing should go about.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I guess you should start.
Oh, I'm going to start. All right.
Well, the man is the leader, so, you know,
Well,
and usually sets the date. So
since you've put it that way.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a number of directions we could go with this, but we'll just say, so some tips for men going out on dates.
Yeah, I think even starting from like the setting up the date too would be beneficial.
Yeah, okay. So I think it depends too, also, like to give the full context on what the man's intentions are, right? Because, you know, and if you have short-term intentions for a man, you know, as a man, then you might want to do things a little bit differently than if you have longer-term intentions. But
don't they all have one intention, but like they could also have more? Like it's always one thing. Like let's be real. Like they have a goal. And then it's like, do they want more than that goal, or do they not? So I think it's like, let's be real here. Like a guy wants to have the date end a certain way. Regardless. Like they're always shooting for that.
Well,
but they maybe wouldn't necessarily be upset if it like didn't happen, because they're also looking to build something. Or some guy would be upset if it didn't happen because that's all he came there for.
Well, okay. So yeah, I guess we have to address that.
Derailing,
no,
but
it's good. It's good because I think it's good to talk about that, because most of the guys that you would date, that would be true.
Are you saying me specifically? Or like
I'm saying an attractive woman, right? So,
okay.
A lot of the guys that you wouldn't date, they wouldn't have that in mind. So, and the reason why I make this distinction is because a lot of guys that are listening to the podcast or watching it, they're going to fall into the category of more of the nice guy, and they actually have genuinely planned for the date, and they're looking for girlfriends.
You're saying they're not hoping, like not even a little bit that happens?
A lot of them honestly would be no, because they're just too, a lot of men are not in touch with their sexuality, right? And what they do is they repress their sexuality in front of women, and that's what makes them a nice guy, and that's what makes them not attractive to women. And so they would actually, the nice guy theory of it is, I just want to treat her well and make her feel special, and I'm already in love with this girl and I haven't even gone on a date with her, and I don't want it to be about sex, right? That's honestly what a lot of the nice guy, you know, motive is. And that's why I'm going to say also that a man should have in his mind how he wants the date to end.
Oh, really?
Right? Because there has to be it has to be a game. It has to be a dance. It has to be two opposing forces, right? The woman is looking to vet a guy and find a good guy that she can get to commit. And the guy's looking for a quick action to get his immediate needs met. And it should be that way. And a guy should have that on his mind.
Why?
Because if a guy comes, it's just what I said, is because if a guy comes in with the nice guy frame, and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna treat her well and just, I don't care about this. She's a wonderful, beautiful person, and I love her, and I don't even know her yet. Then there's nothing. It doesn't intrigue the woman. There's no mystery. There's no sexual tension. The chemistry doesn't exist.
But
so
what if you're just indifferent? Like, it could happen. It could not happen. You're not going to allow it to like bum you out, sort of thing. I guess is what I'm saying.
That's
like,
how it should be.
It seems very like extreme. You're like, so that's why I was asking why, because it's like, is this guy only going for one thing? Because there are guys who go on dates and they do only want one thing, and they do get upset when that thing doesn't happen.
Okay, yeah.
Or, even like in our comment section,
right.
like guys being like, I bought dinner, so like she needs to go home with me. Like, and that's honestly like what women are afraid of.
Right.
And a lot of the time is this whole like, is he going to hold this against me? Like a lot of times women are very standoffish to even going out with a guy if she gets the vibe that he will be like, oh, I bought you dinner, so now you owe me your body. And like, I'm not saying most guys are like that, but some guys are. And it's usually the guys who are like so heavily just looking to go home with somebody that they then get angry when that doesn't happen. Or they're like, I did this for you. What are you doing for me? Very transactional, which kind of goes back to some of the other stuff we talked about. But I just like when you were describing it, it just seemed like the extreme sort of guy that I was just mentioning, or the nice guy. But I'm like, where though is like the in between, which I feel like is probably the best.
Well, it's kind of like almost both of those behaviors actually could be the nice guy, right? Or the guy that, in the sense that if it's transactional, if he thinks what a lot of nice guys do a lot of time that is their mistake is they create a covert contract, right? There's actually a really good book on this by Dr. Robert Glover called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and he talks about covert contracts and this idea that he's creating some kind of, it's not an overt contract. We haven't agreed to this thing, but it's like, if I do this for you, then you have to do this for me, but it's not said. And that creates pressure on someone, and obligation makes them really not like you. Right. And so a lot of guys would do that too. So the middle is what I'm saying is that a guy, he should be on his mind. He shouldn't be thinking long-term for dating, right? He should be perhaps open to it, but he should be looking at because he should be coming from the frame as, look, my life is really good. I'm not looking for anything serious. I like my casual life. I like just being, the life that I'm living now. So that when he does meet a woman that convinces him otherwise, that she's worth more than just a good time, that there's some value for her as well, because she's getting something from that guy that he's not giving to everyone,
right?
And vice versa. And so the guy should kind of have the objective of, I want to get laid tonight. However, he shouldn't be disappointed if he doesn't. He should also be like, even if I don't, like, I'm going on a date with this girl. Yeah, I want to get laid tonight. That is my objective for tonight. However, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter, because there's other girls out there and I'll have other times, and my life is already good. I don't need this in order for me to be happy. Right. You know what I'm saying? But he does need to have, you got to have both of those sides. You have to have that dance.
I agree.
Between the masculine and the feminine.
And I think I've even talked about what you just said, is that, women have a hard time settling down or finding a guy because they're like, what do you provide me? Especially when they're on their own, they're paying their own bills, they're doing all the things for themselves, that like a guy has to bring her something. So I think we talked about that the last episode.
Right.
But another thing I wanted to ask you about, just in regards to this before we move on, is that I feel like what you said makes sense, but I feel like most men aren't, like, they're taking that to the extreme, right? They're like, they're enjoying their single life so much that now they don't want to ever settle down at all. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I agree that everybody who's dating should like acquire their like self-care and their self-love and their alone time to such a level where you do need to wait until somebody provides you something that beats that out.
Right.
But at the same time, like, how men are made and wanting to be, you know, very sexual beings,
Right.
that it almost pushes them into this like not wanting to settle down at all, like really, you know, focusing on just going out and getting satisfied. And they can do that, you know. I mean, I know you would like to say that it's harder for them, and I'm not saying that that's wrong.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say here, I guess, is that it's more appealing for a man to stay single forever because he just wants to get what he needs and then he can move on to the next person. Like you said, like, you know, there's plentiful women. Whereas like if the tables were turned though, like women can't just go get a relationship. Like, I mean, they could. You're going to tell me they could.
They could, yeah.
They can't go get a good relationship, whereas a guy can go get sex and be satisfied. Does that make sense? And so that's why it perpetuates these guys to continue to not settle down because they're getting satisfied, right? Like, for the most part.
Okay.
And then women, though, they're trying to catch these guys. And he's like, no, I'm not settling down, even if he likes her. Because there's been plenty of guys who are like, I really like this girl. And
not enough.
I mean, I guess so. But it's
if he
like,
wanted to, he would, right? It's like,
yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. Because what it comes down to is this. It comes down to guy game and girl game, right? And so a guy should be exercising his game. He should be trying to achieve the male objective and using his game to do that. But a woman should be utilizing her game, which we'll have to do a whole episode on female game because I know that you're the expert in it. And
I have to organize my thoughts on that.
But she should be not allowing him to achieve his objective immediately, but making him feel like he's on the way to achieving the objective, right? That delicate balance, right? Which you know, so that what it comes down to, the answer to your question comes down to, it is up to the woman to have game in that case, to be able to catch one of these guys, to get him to catch the feels, by spending enough time, investing enough in her, that she has to have herself of a high enough value to say, look, I'm not going to just sleep with you just because we went on a date, or especially just because you bought me dinner. You're going to have to invest in me. And I don't mean invest in me just financially, because that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about like invest in getting to know me as a person.
Well, it's not financial at first, right? It's like time. It's a man's time when you first start dating that he needs to invest and his interest in you. But it's funny you said that because when I went to brunch with my friend yesterday, I gave her this analogy, right? Like, you know, when you see like a dog or a horse with a pole attached to his back and there's a carrot dangled by a string and it's attached to him so he can never really get it. I'm like, you're the carrot for a while. Like, you're the carrot. You have to be like here where he can never like really reach it, but he's still trying, right? And there will come a point where, you know, you give him the carrot. But like that aspect of it is so important, not because you're like playing a game, but because men do like a challenge.
Right.
And so you almost have to turn like who you are and your authenticity into this carrot, right? Like you're telling him the truth. You're not lying to him. You're not like being manipulative when we say play games.
Right.
But it's like just giving him enough where he's still going after this thing.
Right.
But he's not getting it quite yet because men want the challenge. Like they act like, yes, like just give me what I want and I'll love you forever. But that's not, especially not in the beginning. Like you cannot give a man everything in the beginning because he'll be like, oh, well, I already know everything about you. I already got what I came here for.
Right.
And even if he actually likes you or you guys could have developed something, you've lost that mystery. You've lost that like pursuit that like men need. Like it's a very masculine thing to like go for your goals and, you know, work towards something. So why wouldn't you make a man work towards achieving you? Right. I guess essentially.
And it's vice versa for women. Women, they want to solve the mystery. They have the detective mindset. They want to figure out the guy, and they want to feel like they figured the guy out,
right?
As opposed to him just telling her all of his emotions and how he feels about things, and just immediately committing to her. She wants to feel like she's won him over, and that's why it is a game. And the thing is, people get upset. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to play games. I just want to be straightforward. I just want to tell this girl I like her. I want she to tell me how much she likes me." And the thing is, when we go to sit down and play a regular game, a board game or something like that, we could just literally just roll a die and then decide who wins based on the die. We don't even need to play the game, but that wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be interesting, right? And again, so it's like, it's not that you should just be toying with people and playing games for that, but it is a chase and a back and forth. It is a cat and a mouse and switching roles. You have to have a little bit of that because that creates the tension. It creates the investment on both parts and makes it exciting, something that you want to play, that you look forward to this person, that, it gets the emotional involvement that needs to be there in order to build a strong bond. So it is not a negative, but
I agree.
Yeah. But that's why I'm saying that, I think it's important to set that basis that a lot of guys, some guys, a lot of the guys that are listening, right, that, like I said, that might fall in the nice guy category, that struggle with women, they need to stop trying to be so nice. They need to stop trying to be like, oh, I'm just going to be a perfect gentleman tonight. And, there's this movie, what is the movie? It's like Swingers, it's called, but it's not about that kind of swinging. But,
Sure.
there's this part in the movie where he says, I don't want you to be that guy in the PG-13 movie that everybody really hopes is going to make it. I want you to be the guy in the rated R movie that you're not quite sure if you like. That's what guys need to be.
It's got to be hard from someone going from people pleasing, which essentially is what nice guy sort of thing is, to like now you're telling them to be kind of like an asshole, which like they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think instead it would be like you said, that like don't worry about what you're saying. Like don't worry about like coming across a certain way to this person.
Right.
Like focus on being you.
Right.
And like have boundaries. Like boundaries are a good thing. It's like you're not being unkind, but you have boundaries. And like be a little bit, maybe it's easier for guys to be a little bit more mysterious rather. Like don't put your heart on your sleeve, because I don't think anybody should. I don't think women should.
No, you can't.
I don't
you got to
think
play
men
your cards
should
close at first.
Yeah, from the very beginning. Because here's another thing too. Like you go on a date.
Right.
You tell everybody or tell the guy everything.
Right.
And then now like you realize you don't really like him, and now he knows all the stuff about you. Not that I'm like thinking he's going to do anything with it, but it's just now it's like you feel like, what was the point? It makes women be like, I don't want to put myself out there because I went and told this person all these things about me and we didn't work out. Like a problem with women that I realized from talking to other women that I guess wouldn't necessarily have girl game, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like they would just stay with whoever because it's comfortable. And they're like, I don't want to go on dates because I don't want to have to tell somebody about myself. Like, I don't want to, I'm like, come on. Like the easiest thing to do is to go out with somebody and just like talk to them.
Right.
Like don't treat it like an interview. Don't treat it like I need the next guy I go on a date with to be my husband.
See, see, women do
women do that. Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. That's why I'm saying it's like, women will try and
fit a guy into the mold rather than
and they have these expectations and right. And it's the same thing, like you said, like guys shouldn't be like, oh, have these expectations either. But you have an outcome that you would like to occur, but you're not attached to that outcome. That's the thing about it.
But it'll make it, I guess what I was trying to say with the, woman thing complaining is that like if you don't show all your cards from the bat, like right off the bat, you won't be as upset if it doesn't work out. Like you won't be as exhausted to have to go on another date, because what did you really give this guy? Like you guys had a conversation. You didn't talk about everything. You talked about, certain things, and you realized it wasn't working out. And so like, you're not as like, feel like you're as emotionally invested. Like I'm not telling women to not have feelings, but kind of like, because the thing is like you just said, a lot of women are like, the next guy I go on a date with, he better be my future husband because I'm like ready to do this and settle down and have kids. And it's like, that never works. Right.
And that's, because that's going to push a guy away. He's not going to, want that.
Right. Well, it's just like, you're putting this like desperate energy out there. Right. And people can tell. And nice guys do that too, right? Like they're trying so hard.
They might be even trying to get a girlfriend.
This person like them that it almost repels the person because you can feel the like inauthenticity in it.
Yeah, the incongruence. Like it's like you're
Yeah.
not what you appear to be, right? But that kind of brings us into what I was going to say about what should a guy be doing on a date,
Yeah.
right? And the big tip to start off is that you do need to have the idea of bringing your sexual energy to the date to actually have the outcome of this could end in getting laid tonight, like and to actually really, because again, and I'm saying this because you have to have that mindset as a guy going into this, because so many guys are like, oh, good night kiss at the end.
Well, it'll help you be smoother.
Right. It'll help you be smoother, because if you're thinking about making moves and, because one of the biggest things, and I'm sure you can confirm this, the reason why a lot of women date a guy once and then never call him again, right, is because there's no chemistry. But that usually means he didn't make any moves. He didn't try, there was no sexual vibe. Right. Because he didn't create a sexual vibe at all. So, a lot of times women just interpret that as there was no chemistry. But what they don't realize a lot of times is it's because the guy was too passive. He didn't actually make a move. Not to say that, some moves are rejected, obviously, but you have to kind of play
it's a balance,
right,
though.
it is.
Like,
but he
guys
has to try for it. If he's not trying for it, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be no chemistry. You know what I mean? Like, am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, I think from like a woman's perspective, the perfect balance would be like flirty comments with a little bit of sexual tension, not outright like sexual remarks.
Absolutely.
And then I don't think any woman really has a problem with a guy she's going, like she chose to go on a date with, attempting to kiss her.
Sure.
But it's just if it like was overbearing or the guy got like upset and like caused a scene.
Right.
So I think it is like a balance to it. Right. And like that in itself is like a mastery. Like that's what guys have to master.
Being smooth, yeah.
Women need to master girl game, which is different.
Exactly.
Guys need to master like flirting and like adding the sexual tension without being outright sexual.
Right.
Because that can turn a woman off too. And, attempting kissing or, whatever on the first date, but then like also knowing when to back off and not like making it weird or him getting angry or things like that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. So I would say starting out, as far as even asking the girl out on the date, right? Usually what's going to happen nowadays is it's going to occur over text.
Right. Or an app.
Dating app, but still, obviously
still words.
I'll from the very beginning, if you see an attractive girl and you want to go talk to her, go and talk to her. Stop being a wuss. Like just do it, right? And if you do talk to her and you get her number, spend some time actually talking to her and just get the number and then run away and be, because you want to actually set some idea, some plan.
But that's also kind of like some mystery, talking to somebody, then like going somewhere else for the night and then bumping back into them, like or like. That's a whole nother.
I'm talking about don't just go up to a girl, get her phone number, and then like you just run away. Like you're I got the number. Okay, now because she's never going to text you back. But let's say that you're at the stage. Let's just assume that you're at the stage of you're texting the girl. Mm-hmm. So the number one mistake, I'll give two mistakes. Number one and number two is don't text her too much before the date. You should have a few texts, that are funny, flirty. Maybe you say something that you said when you're in person, like an inside joke or something that you said on the dating app or whatever, and make it a little bit, casual, but nothing serious, no interview questions, and then set the date. That's number one. And then don't keep on talking to her. A little thing here, maybe a picture here, a little meme, something hard. Like that. Well,
because I would say that women do need to vet a little bit. I'm not saying interview him before you even go on a date, but I do think women need to test the waters a little bit and kind of like see what this guy is all about. We kind of did that.
Well, in a
way, but we didn't talk like a lot.
Right.
But yes,
a little bit
I'm
of
saying
banter,
that that's important because our first interaction, as we've said, is me messaging you. And I was like, you look nice, but your profile's douchey. So, there was some like back and forth. And like, that was important to me too at the same time. I didn't say it to you because I was like testing you. Right. Your profile was douchey. But at the same time, your response to that and from then on gave me a read of you.
Right.
And that determined like how you would probably be if we went on a date. And if I had to be like, no, you know, like shut you down, how you would respond.
Right.
So like, I'm not telling women to go and message guys and insult them for some reason. But I mean, at the same time, if the guy's got a douchey profile, just be like, hey, like you look nice, but your profile's a little douchey. And you might realize that how he responds also will give you an indication of how this guy's going to act.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like we had that little bit, and then I am very team get some sort of social media because even when I was dating, so many guys surprisingly would use 10-year-old photos and then you'd go on their Instagram and they would look so different. Like they talk about women catfishing guys, but they don't talk about guys catfishing women. Like women do talk about it to other women, but we don't even put on blast the catfish
It
dudes.
happens for sure, yeah.
But I think also when you do that, you can kind of see what they're posting and get a little bit more information without having to have full-blown conversations.
Exactly. And that's the detective that the, you know.
Exactly. We're going to detect.
Right. But the man should still, again, we had some playful banter and I think that's good. But again, it's more, let's set the date. You're going to have more of the conversation on the date. You don't want to become pen pals because you want to have the element of mystery.
Yeah.
Because what happens a lot of times is the way that guys will ruin a date before it even starts is they'll overly talk to the girl. They'll talk about they'll maybe talk for hours back and forth on text, or they'll get on the phone. And then at this point, all that anticipation that she had about, oh, I wonder what this guy's going to be like. I wonder, the butterflies that she had in her stomach. She already kind of knows you, and maybe she does even like you, but the tension there is gone. So then she doesn't feel the need to go on the date.
And it can make it awkward because you already talked about so much stuff.
Right. And how's it going to be? Like, I like the texting. I don't know if I like this person in person.
Right.
Whereas it's like, don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Instead, let her think, let her be excited to go on the date, to really meet you, have a little bit of playful banter that's flirty so that she's excited about that. She's like, oh, this guy, she's amping you up in her mind. Whereas the more that you talk, the more you're revealing yourself and you're getting rid of the mystery.
Well, because you said that.
Right.
Got me thinking. Maybe these nice guys like texting because they can appear more confident than in person.
Right.
And that can also make it weird when you actually meet up because you're like, oh, this guy seemed this way.
Right.
And then when we met in person, it was very like different energy. Right. So I understand where you're coming from. Right. I'm just saying it is a delicate balance as well too, because women should be vetting more, like we've talked about in other episodes. So I do think you need to ask some things and try to get some sort of vibe. Like you said, even if it's like us using our detective skills to get those vibes, still get what you feel like you need. But I do agree with you that if anybody, man or woman, is texting for so long, asking so many questions, then you lose a lot of the mystery. The date's kind of pointless.
Right.
It almost can like ruin it because, like I said, it could be like a different energy over text message because people can act differently. Like it's easier for people to appear a certain way online or over text than in person. So I do agree with that. I just it's hard because women do need to vet.
Yeah.
And men need to not spill all the beans.
And that's where there's those two opposing forces, right? She's going to try and get you to talk more. As a man, you have to not talk too much. You have to give her enough in order so she feels safe.
Yes.
And she feels like, so you give her that, but don't give her all that she wants because she will keep on talking to you and keep on texting to you. Right. And she's like, oh, there's a really strong connection. And you have to like resist that as a man and say, wait a minute, we're going to do this in person because I want her to actually to see me in person. And which brings us to the second mistake, which is it's related to the first one, which is don't get sexual on the text before the date.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of guys will do this and a lot of women will respond and they will get super sexual. You'll be sexting. And then what happens is now, again, all the mystery is gone and the hype is built so high.
Right.
And when you actually get in person,
can't live up to it.
You're not going to live up to it. And she's going to be disappointed in your sexual performance by a lot. And then that's it. So instead, as a guy, what you should be doing is even if she gets a little, like you might flirt a little bit. And again, flirting is being sexual and funny and teasing at the same time.
Yeah, it's
not
light.
being just yeah, it's light. But if she gets a little bit, she might get into that.
And be
then
like,
as
whoa,
a guy,
I'm not that type of guy.
exactly. You make it her the aggressor and whoa, and just like cut it off so that don't go there. Even if she's
Right.
trying to
Which
sext
you're
you.
not going to
'Cause
upset a
women will
woman by doing that.
Yeah, because a woman will get fulfilled. She will, I don't want to get too graphic on this podcast, but
Oh,
she
God,
will
please
sext the
don't.
guy, okay, and get what she needed from him from a sexual, without even having to meet him in person to a degree, and like, okay, well, that was fun and I'm done with this guy. That happens. I'm just saying,
I guess
it
but
does. And then the guy's like, what happened? She was so into me. She was sexting me. And then it's like, well, yeah, because you already blew all her fuses. Like she already like, there's no anticipation left at this point.
I mean, I guess I can't say I know any women who do that, but I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But what I was going to say in regards to that is that, again, I think men view it from their perspective.
Right.
Like if a woman's coming on hard to you and you're like, whoa, slow down there, lady, I'm a gentleman. Like that's going to make her more attracted to you, not turn you off. But I think
Right.
men are like, oh, if I get denied, that upsets me.
Right.
And maybe they're like, I can't deny her because she's going to get pissed and then not even want to go on a date with me. But that doesn't happen. Like with women, like they're not going to be upset with you if you're not being sexual back, you know? So
that's a really good game tip for guys, just in general. That applies in so many places where,
well, and I mean,
you're afraid to lose the girl.
part of girl game is also saying similar things like that too, because a real way, like without going full into girl game, to really hook a guy is to lean on the sexual part because
Right.
that's what they want. You lean on it, but you don't give it to them.
Right.
Like it's like teasing,
Right.
it's like a performance.
But you're also finding out, you're also vetting him, because when, as a woman, you lean on the sexual side and then the guy takes the bait,
Right.
then you're like,
Then you're like,
this guy's desperate. He's needy. But if he's like, look, we'll talk more about this in person, or he's like, yo, whoa, watch, you're coming on kind of strong here. It's like, now you know, okay, well, this guy's probably
and that's
experienced, he's got
playful
options.
and it's fun.
Yeah.
And like, it's another layer that I think women would like rather than be like, oh, he didn't like sext me back. Like,
Right.
screw him. Like, I can't think of any woman that would say that.
Plus, if he's overly eager, then you're like, okay, well, obviously I can just completely dominate this guy with my sexuality. Like he's going to do whatever I want. He's not going to pose any kind of challenge. He's just going to be completely influenced by this. And if he's influenced by my sexuality, he'd be influenced by any woman's sexuality. Any woman can get him to do whatever she wants by just using her sexuality, and that makes him weak. Right?
Mic drop on that. Like that was a good little tidbit right there.
True. But that's all, and that's what all the game is understanding these things from both the male and the female perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to go like going back down our timeline, because there's a lot of good
we're still
tidbits here. The next thing I want to bring up is that I don't think a woman should let a man pick her up on the first date.
Okay. I think he should potentially offer.
I think offering's fine. I don't think a woman should do it. Because again, like safety, like I'm always going to stress safety. Like when I was dating, that was key, especially because I lived alone as a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, but even with roommates, it's just not a good idea to have this stranger, like he's a stranger,
Right.
come to your house and now he knows where you live.
Yeah, that's true. Because there's a lot of weirdos today. Like we've seen it. So,
So it's not like, because he's just, I don't know, for like a mean thing.
Right.
It's strictly a safety thing and not having a guy to know where you live. And I do agree that he should offer, because that is the gentleman thing to do.
Yeah.
And it does like show a woman, oh, like, he's interested enough to come pick me up and, do the gentlemanly thing.
Right.
However, like you can politely decline and I'll just meet you there. Now, if you've gone on like 2 or 3 dates.
Yeah, then it's different. Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, you're somewhat involved. You like him. Like this is going somewhere. Still might not go all the way to relationship, but it's going somewhere.
Right.
Then I feel like you have better judgment of, if this person comes and picks me up and has my address, they're not going to murder me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
People always, I feel like when we've done things before about the murdering stuff, they're like, this is ridiculous, but this is how women think.
And there's
and
a lot
they should be safe to some
Right.
extent.
Because there are a lot of guys will disguise their true intentions and
Right.
how they are in order to kind of a chameleon in order to get a woman to like them. And then
Right.
when a woman rejects them, then how do they act? Because a lot of guys don't. That's why a lot of women are afraid. That's why I have a boyfriend when she doesn't really have a boyfriend. That's why these
Right.
things, I have to go to the bathroom and she disappears. Like, it's not because
Because it's hard to say no.
because it is.
You don't
because
know how
you
a man's going to respect.
Right.
Like,
And it is
respond.
really true that there, a lot of men are really creepy and will not handle rejection very well at all, especially
Right.
in a private setting where they're not in public, where,
Yeah, you really don't know what they're going to do.
yeah. And there's a lot of guys that are sexually frustrated, and that's, and so they're tired of being rejected by women and so it is true. Like, you should
So
be
I
careful.
would say that. I wanted to add that in there.
Yeah.
Like, some women are still going to do it.
Right.
I just think it's a good way. It's a good little test without being a test.
Right.
And also safe
Yeah.
for
I
a
agree.
woman.
I agree.
Because like you said, if like a guy's like, why won't you let me come pick you up? Like, whatever, he might have some like
That's
anger
right.
problems,
Right.
or not that I think a guy would do that outright. Like, I don't think that's the majority response.
Right.
But it's also another indication of he might have this underlying anger sort of thing. And we
Yeah.
talked about men's anger
Yeah.
before, and it's a very scary and real thing. And so I just wanted to throw that because I feel like that's the next segment, right? Like,
Yeah.
you scheduled a date, you talked
Exactly,
about
yeah.
scheduling a date, and then the next part is am I going to come pick you up? Are we going to meet here? So I would say, women, first date, don't let a guy come pick you up. Better
Okay.
safe than sorry.
I'm with you. That makes sense. As far as now setting the date for the guy, right? How should
I
he
guess
set the
I
date? What
skipped
kind
that
of
part.
date? Well, yeah. What kind of date should he set? And like I said, I mean, if your plans are a guy, like, you might be thinking very short term, and it might just be you're just going to go and meet for drinks. And I think that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you do want to set more of a date, and perhaps a lot of times the guy should be going for the easy date, right? And maybe the woman pushes back and is like, I don't just do drinks. That might be a good girl game thing. But the guy maybe should be saying, okay, let's just do something very casual. Just and not because you're a cheapskate. A lot of guys are like, oh, I don't want to pay for dinners and stuff like that. But because
That's what I was going to say.
you don't have an investment that you're making at this point as a guy. You don't want to overly invest to start, right? However, I think that if you can't go wrong with if you do want to do a full date in dinner. But if you're going to do that, then you should do it the right way, and you definitely need to be making some moves because if you just set the drinks date, that already is sending a message, right? It already tends to send a message that you are interested
I mean,
in.
it is more casual,
Right.
but I do think that men lean more towards that these days for what you said, that they don't want to pay for dinner.
Well,
Because
see, that's not a good reason.
I've told people I don't really like drink dates because even back when I drink,
Right.
like would go out, I just didn't enjoy doing it like very often.
Right.
And so I would turn them down. But me and you went on a drink date.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, it's not to say that I would never go on a drink date.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys now push that really hard because of the investment part, because of the like, I don't want to pay for a dinner,
Right.
even if he likes her. Because what you said is that don't talk too much to her, or
Right.
like, and so he doesn't know her enough to be like, I really like this girl. He would just know she's hot.
Right.
So he doesn't have any extra investment into it
Yeah.
to be like, I'll take her on a date because she's this way. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
So I do feel like it's more of a money thing these days
Right. It shouldn't-
than
yeah.
a like casual thing.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a money thing. It should be like you're being casual because you're
Well,
sending
we
a
already
message
know how
that
you
I'm
feel
looking
about
for.
money.
Yeah, I'm looking for a casual, like, you know what I mean? But again, if you do set up a full date, which I'm not opposed to a guy doing that, and maybe that is good for a second date, but even it could be a first date, then the guy should be the way to ask for the date, right, is he should be giving all the instructions ahead of time. He shouldn't say, hey, what are you doing on Friday night? It's like, oh, where do you want to go? Or, or just no, none of that. Instead, he should be saying, look, how about I'll meet you at such and such place at 7:00 on Thursday night, right? He's saying the time and the location, right, for her to meet. He's not giving a lot more details about that, right? But he should have something more planned, right? So you're not just going to go to dinner. You're going to go and meet somewhere. You're going to meet at the park, and you're going to walk around the lake, and then you're going to go to dinner.
Which
you're
women
go,
like that when a guy, plans it. And it's not like, well, where do you want to go?
Right. Yeah, you got to plan.
What do you want to eat?
The man should be making all the decisions and planning it and leading her through that, through the date, through the experience, creating an experience for her. That's what is going to produce the best result, right?
Which I think you can still ask some basic questions like, when do you get off work?
Yeah, sure.
Or is this day okay? Like the evening time? Because you do, like, people have schedules.
Right.
So you can't just throw something out there. I mean, you could, but be prepared that
but
someone's going to be like, oh, I
can't do that.
This
which
going
is fine.
on.
And in which case then,
or asking like, what type of food do you like or something like that? Like, are you feeling, or like being like, I wanted to try this Mexican place. Do you want to do it? So like, you're still choosing, but also, asking, because some people don't like Mexican foods. I don't know why, but so I think you still have to ask like key little things, but
if you're
what you're saying is right though, to just, ask your little questions if you want, and then make the plans, because women are very attracted to a guy that just makes the plans.
Right. You make the reservation, you make the plan, you tell her where to be, potentially what to wear if it's,
Oh, you're going that far?
I mean, hey, sometimes it's good to.
If a guy was like, wear this, I'd be like, what, are we going to match like a matching couple on our first date?
Then he says,
girl game.
We'll see. You'll see. You'll see why, or even that's what I like. I would like to see you in a dress.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I think that would work better date 3, because I would be like, I don't even know you, and you're going to tell me what to wear because that's what you like. I don't know you, Mr. Sir.
That's fine. Then the banter goes back and forth. If you can take the heat, then go for it. But if you can't take the heat, then you better not do it as a man, because she's probably going to come back at you and test you, and then you're going to have to respond well to it, without getting upset, right? But it could also be, if it's a mystery, if it's like, you don't know what the reservation is or what the restaurant is, I've got something special planned for us. Meet me at this place at 7:00. Wear something nice. Wear a dress. What? Now there's a well, it's a mystery. Because maybe it's a fancy restaurant. Maybe it's
okay. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense. I was thinking of like, wear a red top and black pants.
Not that specific.
He's styling me now. I haven't even went on a date with him yet.
But you can say, stuff like that. But doing something like that, again, the idea is like to come across different than what other guys do by having a plan, by being not afraid to tell a woman what you want.
And you know what that is?
And what you like.
Masculine.
That's right. That's what it is.
And that's what women like. And even women who are like are in their masculine, they respect like you making a plan, setting it up. They will respect that no matter what. Like I said, maybe the wearing something, but when you explained it, like wear something nice, that's fine, because now you're letting her know that it might be fancy. Right. I was just taking it to the literal, but a woman will respect that, even if she's still in her masculine, which she's probably going to be because it's your first date. She will still respect that, and it will attract her more towards you, because again, it's allowing her to not have that responsibility. Right. And a lot of men put that responsibility still on women when they're making the first date, right? Right. So it's like a breath of fresh air for her to match with somebody and have some banter and be like, have the message pop up and he's like, meet me here at this time, wear something nice. She's like, I don't have to think about anything.
Right. Yeah. And she feels like, okay, this guy, he knows what he wants. Mm-hmm. He goes for what he wants. He's not afraid. He's not going to be iffy, like asking all these questions, and like he just says what he wants.
That's important too, because if you make it to a point where you guys get into a relationship, she'll remember those things and realize he wants me. And that means more, that like he chose me rather than I was just a girl who ended up liking him and he wanted to settle down with anybody. Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So it's like, if he knows what he wants, and he chose me,
Yeah.
then I'm providing him something into his life that he can't get anywhere else.
Right. Yeah. And he's setting the frame for the relationship already by taking the lead. He's saying, okay, I'll tell you where we're going to go and what to do. I've taken the what do you call it? Well, not taking I've taken the initiative. I've taken, charge of this situation.
Yeah.
And so she's more likely to follow your lead on the date because you've already set that frame in place, which is important, right? Which is going to hit her attraction trigger, which is going to make it, there's already chemistry at that point. Like there's a much more chance of that because now you're acting in the masculine. So she's more likely to show up at the date acting in her feminine.
Right.
She already sees, because a woman does have to, in a way, look up to a guy, right? And a guy that already knows and says, seems more experienced, seems like, okay, he knows where to go, he knows what to do, that she feels more comfortable.
Well, she's more likely to look up to a masculine man because she's having to be in her masculine. Mm-hmm. And so if she sees somebody that's taken over that and is owning that and showing her that he can be masculine, she can almost start to be like, okay, this person is going to like take care of these things for me. I won't have to. So it almost has her start relaxing into her feminine from the very beginning.
Right.
Which, if you want that dynamic, which everybody should want, is a good way to even start, from the very beginning, very first date, start having that dynamic, start showing her your masculine, show her that she can relax into her feminine and you have it handled because that's just going to be better going forward.
Exactly.
So I agree with that.
So, and then I guess I would say planning the date, you should have a plan. Mm-hmm. Even if you're going for drinks, you should have a plan, whether that be go for drinks and then try to get her to come to your place or whatever you're going to do, like have a plan, right? So and if you're doing a more of a formal date, then it should be more than one activity. It's not just going for dinner. It's not just going for a movie. You're going to plan a couple of different things that you're going to do to make it something that is an experience. Because women, again, even in dating profiles, right? A lot of women will select men based on the lifestyle, based on what they are going to picture themselves. I mean, tell me if you disagree with this, but I think a lot of women picture themselves in that man's life and what would their life be like if they were in his life. So that's why, like with the dating photos, showing you in different places, doing different things, having a fun, exciting lifestyle is what's attractive to a woman, not just pics of you, ripped in the mirror with your selfie.
I guess selfies. So. I guess you're right. Like, I wouldn't say it's heavily on that, but it is maybe subconscious more so than conscious, that you do want to see a guy who has more than just selfies. Because to be honest, when I would see a guy with just straight selfies, I'd be like, something's off. Like, maybe he's a narcissist. And that's me like judging, which I try not to do. But it would be a red flag. I want to see not the perfectly curated selfies or like you doing selfies all the time. Like, I want to see you and your pet, you on a trip where you wanted to go. Like, sure, if you want to throw a gym photo in there, you take care of yourself, right? If you put that in there. So I think it's more about the variety. I don't know if women see it through a lens of putting themselves in the person's life. They might.
Right.
But for me, it was more of, I want to see like what more of the things that this person does. Right. And it doesn't have to be perfect, like photos, but it needs to show some humanness to it, right?
Right.
And I think that's kind of safe for women to also try to find a guy who might be looking for something more serious if he's showing more of his life.
Right.
I feel like the selfie guy, he's probably looking for one thing because he's thinking about himself and his pictures show it.
Right.
Maybe I'm just analyzing this really hard. But I would say if some scientist somewhere figured out if straight up selfie guy on dating apps was only looking for one thing, I would think that that's probably the case. Yeah, whereas the guy who's been like, here's my dog and because that's almost like inviting you into his life without giving away all the information.
Exactly.
It's still mysterious. You don't know what his dog's name is. You don't know if that's even his dog.
Right.
And like he went to Thailand and like, why did he go? How long did he stay there? What was going on? So you still have the mystery, and women can still like decide, try to figure out, whoa, what does this photo mean? And things like that. So I think that maybe it's not necessarily like this is how I'll fit into his life, because I don't think women think that way from the very beginning.
Right.
Because you don't know if he's going to be masculine or not. You don't know if he will take the lead and you can trust him. So it's kind of, I would say, bad for women to look at a guy's photo and be like, oh, we could be in Thailand together and we could be with his dog, because you don't know yet.
Right. But
and some women
but subconsciously
go down that road and then they try to make him be the one because she's already imagined her life from photos.
But subconsciously what I'm saying, and again, to bring it back to like the date, is that create an interesting show. You have an interesting life. Create some interesting. Even invite her on something that you're doing already in your life, like to go. Maybe you row boats or whatever. Like invite her to do some activity, something that you already do that brings her into your world, because you want to bring a woman
or
into
do
your
something
world.
new together. They say that that's actually a good bonding experience, is to try something new that you both haven't done.
Yeah.
So,
but it is good if a man can figure out a domain where he can demonstrate mastery or competency, because that is always a good thing. If you're good at something, invite a woman to come along with you to do a thing.
But also if you like, it's good to see like, is this guy going to try really hard to learn this new thing? Like, is he just going to give up and throw a hissy fit? So like the opposite is the same too, by doing something new. It also shows like you're more open to trying new things and spontaneous and, things like that. So
I agree. I think that's
I think either way you can't go wrong. But I mean, I would
have something planned, like, and have it be somewhat intricate, not just a simple dinner,
I agree with that.
So, and then have the full, what are you going to do? What situation, if things go well, how are things going to end? What are, have your plan in place as a man.
Right.
And then I would say, before the date, do not text to confirm that she's going to be there.
Oh.
Okay. And here's why. A lot of women, just like you said, they're like, I don't want to have to meet someone new. And they're already thinking, I'm going to back out on it. Even if they like the guy, they're still thinking, I'm going to back on it because I don't want to get dressed up and I'm just going to be disappointed. And their mind's going with all these things. And so if you ask them, are you going to be there? You give them the opportunity to say, actually, I'm kind of sick today or whatever, to make some kind of excuse. Instead, assume they'll be there on the day of and confirm it by asking a question like, are you planning on Ubering or driving your car? I just wanted to know because of the parking situation.
Because I was about to be like, not good advice.
Yeah. No.
Because if you don't say anything, I've been on plenty of dates that are set up.
Yeah.
And the guy has not like said anything about it, and I've just not gone because I'm like,
I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, we set this up, but like, are you alive?
Right. No, it should be assuming the close, assuming she's going to show up, not asking if she's going to show up. So
I would say even be like, see you at 7 is fine. It's confirming, but without asking.
Right.
Like
That's
you're
good.
saying,
yeah.
See you there.
Right.
And if she wants to come up with an excuse, then that tells you that. But I agree. I don't think you should be like, are you going to be there? But I think either asking a question like you said, like something specific, like, are you Ubering, or like, or even telling her there's a parking lot on the backside of the thing, just so you know, something like that. Or even see you at 7.
Well, the reason why see you at 7 is not good is because you need to ask some kind of question that requires a response. Because see you at 7 can be ignored, right?
I guess
are you
you're
driving or Ubering cannot be ignored. If she ignores you, you're not even showing up to the date.
But also, if she's ignoring, then you don't show up.
I know, but if you say see you at 7 and you don't get a reply from that, what do you do as a man?
Don't go.
You don't go at all because she didn't reply to see you at 7?
No.
Like you said,
go.
see you at 7. It doesn't necessarily require a response. Now she shows up and you're not there, but you told her you're going to see her at 7. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so much better to ask a question. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
You know, or just say, hey, I was going to show up a
I would
few
just
minutes
not
early.
go.
Do you want me to order you a drink before you get here? Or what, any kind of question that you can ask that's assuming that she's going to be there. It's just a better way to go and not to waste your time. Because if she doesn't answer the question, are you driving or Ubering? Then you assume she's not going, right? Because she definitely saw it.
Yeah.
And guys, women always see every single text you text. They never didn't not see your text.
I mean, unless they're working and they like just aren't on their phone.
But they see your text, you know, like a day doesn't go by and then it's like, oh, you know, she saw your text.
Yeah, she's not into you.
If she chose not to respond, she purposely chose not to respond. So.
Yeah, I guess you're nicer than me because if someone said see you at 7 or I texted someone see you at 7 and they didn't say anything, I would not be seeing them at 7.
Yeah,
even if they showed up, I'd be like, you didn't say anything. And nowadays you can even just like heart the text message or thumbs up. Even that would be some sort of response, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
But if they didn't say anything and they didn't react to the text, I'd be like, oh, I'm not going at 7 either then, I guess.
Again, it's something that can be ignored and you could get flaked on, whereas if you ask a specific question, a person's much less likely, like the rudeness of ignoring a see you at 7 because you're flaking on someone is not to the rudeness level of ignoring a question.
I mean, that's true.
You know, so.
But I think, too, the key for everybody is to just, you don't know this person. Right. So if they don't show up, if they ghost you, if they flake on you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons, like I said, you know.
Because it's them, not you. If they're just ignoring you, that's rude, like you said.
So then you've got the date. Like, what do you do when you show up on the date as the guy? And yeah, we've been running a lot. But I mean, I think the big thing there is to, as a man, to keep it light and flirty and funny. Don't talk about serious stuff. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of questions about, but how many sisters and brothers do you have? What do you do at your work? All that. No, that's not first date stuff.
Don't make an interview.
Yeah, none of that is first date stuff. Like if it comes up.
Ask them what kind of bug they are.
Right. Something silly.
I always say that one, but one of my friends went on a first date with her. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's her now boyfriend. And she was like, what kind of pasta are you? And he gave a really good answer. Yeah. He said he was bow tie pasta because he's, you know, a distinguished gentleman.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, shoot, that's so much better than like, what do you do for work? Or, you know, it's a fun way to like get to know somebody in a different sort of light. And it's funny. You're having fun. Like, I don't know any couple who doesn't want to laugh together and like have fun.
Exactly.
So if you ask a question like that, like it's just going to make the situation light and airy and fun and have you guys both kind of like open up, because a first date can be nerve-wracking. You can be like a little nervous.
Yeah.
And so by asking light, airy, fun questions like that, it helps everybody kind of let their guard down and be more authentic. I'm not saying tell your whole life story, but it just creates a better environment for something to like blossom and turn into something.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Yeah. It's just, you just have to keep it light and not try and get into keep the mystery. Keep the mystery. But you can still have fun. You're still talking. You're just doing flirting, not serious talking about serious stuff. A few things come up, question about this or that, or what do you do for work? But then you get off that subject very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want to kill a date. She asks you, what do you do for work? And then you explain it to her.
Right.
And now it's a very non-sexual thing. Now it's a very platonic thing that you've created.
Yeah.
Because you get, but if you tease her and you flirt with her and you guys are going back and forth.
Tell her you're a proctologist.
Right. You tell her, you know, she's like, what? Are you really a proctologist? Like, yeah, no, seriously. Like, like now you're having some fun with it. Right. And then you drop the act and say, okay, no, seriously, I'm a computer software developer, you know, something.
Like, you're going to find out their siblings' names.
Yeah.
More detail about what they do if you guys continue to date. You don't need to figure all those things out on the first date. The first date should be about having fun, like you said.
Right.
Because you can figure out all the other questions more dates in.
Right.
The first date is about like meeting them in person. That's a huge deal alone. You've just seen pictures.
Right.
Like, now you get to see what they actually look like in person.
Right.
How their demeanor is, because you can't tell that with text.
Right.
And like if they're fun, if you guys can have a good time, you know, things like that. So that's what the first date is more so for. It's like actually meeting, being actually in each other's space.
Yeah.
And then have like seeing if you guys can have a good time and laugh and, you know, make a fun experience.
And when you go out on a date, guys hate this, but it's because I don't know why people hate this so much, but trust me, this is better. This works better. Do not, if you can, like scope out the area where you're going to go ahead of time, if you can, you know, or if you go with the place that you're familiar with, that you know, and do not try to avoid sitting across, like we're sitting across now. Instead, sit on the same side. That might be sitting on bar stools. It might be finding a cafe where there's like a booth seating. And yeah, people are like, oh, it's so embarrassing. Waiters and waitresses are like, oh, those people that sit next to each other instead of, no, you know, do it. Okay. Because it becomes more intimate.
Right.
And now you've got the ability, you can be talking
or put your arm.
You know, you can put your arm around her. You could show her something on your phone and put your arm around her. You remember that move? You know, you could put your hand on her knee, you know, for a second, you know, and see, you know, so you can actually start to get a little bit physical that will actually create that chemistry. Because when you're sitting right across from each other like that, yeah, you can have a good conversation, you know, but
yeah, that's about the best we can
But
do.
you're really, you know, again, for guys need to understand is that women go based on their emotions. How did you make her feel? That's the most important thing. And it's like, you could be the perfect guy, right? You had a great conversation, all these things, but for some reason she didn't feel it. And the reason why she didn't feel it was because there was nothing. There was no touch. There was no closeness. Like you didn't create that sexual tension. And so even though you were the perfect match for her, she doesn't like you because she's going based on her emotions completely. And so you have to spike those emotions, which also means that you need to put a move. You need to do something. You need to put your hand on her knee or you know, if she's not comfortable with you touching her on the first date, she's not going to be comfortable with you. Like you're finding out information so you don't waste time, right? Because if she's into you, and again, I'm not saying to be super sexually aggressive and to not listen to the signals that she's giving, but you should be going for a kiss before the end of the night, right? Things should be going that well. Because if you go on a date with a girl and she's not comfortable or feeling like at all that you feel like you could kiss her before the end of the night, it's probably not going to be working out. So you're just finding out ahead of time, right? And it doesn't mean, even if you go for the kiss and she gives you the cheek, that's fine. At least you went for it. And a lot of times women, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but in my experience, women will say, wow, this guy actually has some balls. And then maybe he goes for the kiss the second time after waiting a little bit. And now she's into it because she's like, how did he handle that rejection? He didn't even care. He didn't make a big deal of it. And now he still has the balls to go for it again. Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't go a third time.
I wouldn't go a third time.
Like, I agree that she might be like, oh, you know, he made a move and he didn't get angry or act crazy. And so, you know, she might let you go the second time, but do not do 3 times. Because at that point, the ship is sailed. It's not for you.
Yeah.
Like if you have to try 3 times.
Yeah. That's. And I'm not saying
third strike, you're out. Like, and I'm not saying that it's your fault.
Right.
That's what I feel like both men and women need to realize when you're dating, especially like first dates. Don't take it personally.
Right.
So many people get discouraged from dating because they take it personally. Oh, this person didn't like me. Like, did you even really like them?
Right.
Probably not. So just chalk it up to we're not compatible.
Right.
This is not going to work out. And that is so much better. It'll motivate you to keep putting yourself out there and keep dating to find the person that's right for you rather than being like, oh, well, this guy who I didn't even like didn't like me.
Right.
That's fine. People are entitled to not like you and you didn't like them. So why are you expecting them to like you?
Right.
Like just chalk it up to like, it's nobody's fault besides being incompatible with each other and go find the person that is right for you. I feel like that also deters a lot of people, both men and women, because they're like, oh, well, this person didn't like me and I went on a date. But did you even like them? No, not really.
Right.
Why are you upset then?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not personal. Like everybody's just out here trying to find their life partner. and you want to make sure you made the right choice. And so I wouldn't care that somebody, even that I liked on the first date, told me, hey, like, you know, I just don't feel it. It's the first date. He doesn't owe me anything at all.
Right.
Like even the second, he doesn't owe me anything until he's my boyfriend, really, in my opinion.
Right. I agree.
But, you know, there's conversations leading up to that. However, I think one thing that would be beneficial to both men and women is not taking dates personally, especially first dates.
Right.
Don't let them keep you from putting yourself back out there. It's not you and it's not them. It's just you guys together aren't it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. Yeah.
We still probably could have went a long time, but I think we need to.
Yeah, I think that. I mean,
Wrap
that's
up.
kind of the. I think that's the end of it. Really, is it's those are really the things. Right?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
that's-
I felt like they were good, beneficial aspects.
Yeah.
For both.
And then, like I said, I mean, the last thing I would say is like don't wait till the goodnight kiss to try to do the
Put
kiss.
the moves.
Then it's too late at that point. Like she's already formed an assessment of who you are as a man, and not making moves is.
But maybe not if you've put your,
Maybe.
hand on her leg.
Well, okay,
and
yeah. If you've done,
brought her in,
yeah, that's fine.
then I think
Right.
you could
Right.
still.
You had to at least got physical
Right.
to a degree.
Yeah,
right?
don't
Because-
just like not touch each other and then go for a kiss and like beeline for it. It's not good.
Yeah, no, but yeah, if you do that as a man, then you'll come across in the right way, and and it again, a lot of it does come down to a man doing the right things on the date, and the woman is there.
True.
And, there's not a lot that that she's gonna do. She's gonna be the one actually doing the selection, really.
Right.
Yeah. So. All right. Well,
Oh,
I guess
what's our thing for this week?
what is our thing? Our relationship thing for this week. So, so it's interesting. So I was thinking about this. I mean, we didn't really have very much really conflicts or anything, or really large discussions, but there was a kind of a silly incident that occurred.
You better not be talking about what I think you're going to talk about.
Where Nicole had the dog on the bed.
Oh, okay.
And I came home and I was like, I could smell that the dog was on the bed, and the dog that's supposed to be on the bed, Toto, and I asked her about it, and she kind of didn't really tell me the truth about it, and it was interesting because I didn't have a negative reaction to it, but like I went for a run the next day, and I may or may not have taken a couple of bites of a mushroom, but
You're just like talking about your mushroom.
but it did. I mean, but I realized, right, what was really cool was I wrote Nicole this nice long text about how I'll never leave her, and but what I realized was that she's human, right, and that we're all human, and I realized that I guess I should address you that that you're human, and that you're going to do things like we all have darkness in it. We all have snakes inside. You know what I mean? Like, you're beautiful and wonderful and so much good, but there's also some bad, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't just love the good. I love all of you 100%, right? Because it is one thing to love a person just for their good qualities, but to really truly love a person, you have to love them despite even that that there are bad things. You know what I mean? Not that I think there's a lot of bad things, but I'm just saying, like, I know I have bad things, right? I know, so as a human, like, I just had this really just insight of, it's kind of funny how Nicole not telling me the full truth about something could actually make me actually open up to love her even more. And I just had that revelation. I was like, wow.
And I should have told you the truth.
Well,
but
but
I had always had Toto on the bed before we met. So and in the instance you're talking about, I heard something downstairs and I'm like,
you were
Toto,
scared.
come be here with me. So I knew, to me, it wasn't a big deal, but I knew it was to you. But in that moment, I still wanted that, comfort, and I felt bad. And then I was like, I don't want him to be mad for this, 20 minutes that she was on the bed when I was paranoid.
Yeah.
So I did lie, which is wrong. It's wrong no matter what. But like you said, I wasn't intentionally trying to be malicious, and
Right.
I'm going to occasionally have a moment where I'm like, oh, I don't want to upset him over this little thing. Like, I don't lie about the big things. That's not acceptable. And
I mean, and we shouldn't lie about the little things either.
Right, I know.
But we are human. That's what I'm trying to say is that
Right.
I love you for the human that you are. You don't have to be perfect, and I don't expect perfect. And like whatever the darkest part of your soul is, I still love. And that's the thing that I think, that when I married you, that's what I meant by that, is that no matter how dark the darkest part of your soul is,
Right.
I love
all of you.
Exactly. And I think that is
all the parts.
the thing that it just hit me. I was like, because I felt it in that moment, in that reaction that I didn't have to that. I was like, oh yeah, well, she's human. Humans sometimes lie. You know what I mean? Not that you should try to lie or,
Right.
or justify, but at the same time, humans sometimes lie. And do you love a person because of all of the good things, or do you love a person because of who they are? And that's where, you could tell the difference. And it just made me realize that like, I need to do an even better job of doing that every day.
But you did love me. I feel like
Of
you
course.
didn't like change. I feel like you just maybe realized how to articulate how you always felt, because I've always felt the same about you, that I love every single thing about you. And we've talked about that in other episodes too, that was like a first for me.
Right.
And I think in order to have the relationship that we have, it has to be that you love the good and the bad, right? Because those things are going to show up. Like life's not always going to be good. Life's not always going to be bad. Like, can you handle both? Can you handle the circumstances that the person's going to go through? Because just like life, sometimes they're in a good mood, sometimes they're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Like, you have to love the person you're with through all those things. And it's not hard to do that. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I think it's easier when you have that realization that I'm talking about. That like you have snakes inside of you. I have snakes inside of me. Like as a person, like when you realize you yourself have not every thought you're proud of. Mm-hmm. You've done things, you will do things in the future that you might not be proud of. Can someone love you knowing those things? You know what I mean? Like, or do you have to hide those things?
Right.
And it's like, you won't really truly experience what the true depth of love is until you feel like you're with someone where you don't have to hide those things. Yeah, obviously you don't want to do bad things and have bad thoughts or, whatever. That's fine. But do you have to hide those things, or does a person accept you 100% as you are,
Well,
even
I think it's
as you're
because
growing?
they know who you are deep down.
Right.
And I think what also is important is the people that we are. Like, we're constantly trying to be better.
Right.
So I think it's easier to look at the bad things, right? And be like, this isn't going to spiral. Like, like things are going to happen. Like, you're not always going to do the right thing. I'm not always going to do the right thing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, both of us are people that try to be the best version of ourselves. And so I think that aspect is important too, because you might like meet somebody and they have, everybody has their stuff, their bad stuff. But it's like the people who don't necessarily care or like want to work on themselves in other ways, I feel like that could also like perpetuate, which is a little scary. It's one thing to know that all humans are going to have their good and their bad sides inside of them. Like, nobody's perfect. But I do feel like what helps the realization of like accepting somebody fully is also the other parts as well too. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't know if you can totally have it with someone that's very fixed mindset.
Right.
Because those things might just accumulate or like take over their whole life that they did something bad.
Right.
Because I also think it's important to be able to forgive yourself for doing the wrong thing.
For sure. Absolutely.
And that goes with growth mindset sort of thing too. So I made it more complicated, but
it's okay.
I thought it was a good little tidbit to add in.
But yeah, I didn't, like I said, I love you not because you're perfect, but because you're better than perfect. Because it is by those things, because you're real, because you're human. Right. And that's the thing. Because if you love someone who's perfect, then when they're not, you won't.
Right.
And that's the thing. So better than perfect. All right. That's it.
That's us.
See you next week.
Hey, through every